Hello, and thank you for joining us on this podcast. You will be listening in on a conversation between Brannon Poe and Matt Wilkinson about web and marketing strategies to help owners build better practices. Brannon Poe is the founder of Poe Group Advisors, a leading-edge intermediary focusing exclusively on accounting practice sales, mergers, and acquisitions. Brannon is the author of Accountant's Flight Plan, Best Practices for Today's Firms, and On Your Own, How to Start Your Own CPA Firm. Matt Wilkinson is the founder and CEO of Bizink. Bizink makes accountants incredible online. They do that with high-performance websites, engaging content, and modern marketing tools. Everything they do is built for accountants and streamlined so they can run their practices in the knowledge that their online marketing is in safe hands. To learn more about Poe Group Advisors, please visit www.poegroupadvisors.com. To learn more about Bizink, please visit www.bizinkonline.com.
Today I am talking with Matt Wilkinson, who is founder and CEO of Bizink, and Matt is joining us from New Zealand. Matt has a company that creates websites for accountants. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Brannon. Thanks for having me along.
Yes. And Matt and I were introduced through his wife, kind of an interesting story. Matt, you want to share that story?
Yeah, sure. As Brannon mentioned, I live in New Zealand in a small little town in the mountains. Our company's completely virtual, so we've got staff all over the world. And my wife also works. She works for a US company who are completely virtual as well. So rather than have an office every year, they get together in a different place in the US and meet up as a company. So 50 plus people from all over the globe come together, and this year it was in Florida. And on her flight back to New Zealand, I think she was connecting through Houston, sat next to a chap called Brannon and got talking, and of all things started talking about accountants, because that's obviously what Brannon's business is. And my wife mentioned, oh yeah, my husband also works with accountants, builds websites for them. So small world. Myself and Brannon share quite a few contacts in common, and we've been chatting over the last few weeks. So yeah, kind of a chance meeting on a plane, and now we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's great. It really is a small world.
Absolutely.
You realize the person next to you on a plane on a trip to Houston can be connected with the accounting industry. It's kind of a bizarre meeting. So in terms of what your company does, just in thinking about the specialization, we focus on selling firms, and we don't sell any other types of businesses. We're very focused, and you're the same in the same way with websites. So tell us about what your company, just kind of give us a broad overview of what your company does and what areas you serve, and
sure,
that sort of information.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, our mission is to make accountants incredible online, and we do that through websites and online marketing. As a profession, I think the accounting industry probably not the best in terms of websites, and we're there to try and change that. As obviously we serve accountants, but I guess the end goal is making great experiences for business owners, and by doing that, we attract those to accounting websites. So we create websites that look really good, they're mobile friendly. The most important thing, and the area where we're quite different, is the content that we offer. So, creating really engaging content for accountants who often don't have the time to do that, putting it on their websites, and that pulls business owners to their websites and also engages their clients, gives them a reason to visit those websites and generates business for them. That's what we do when we're New Zealand and Australia has been our kind of key market over the last 3 years. Now we've got a small client base in the US and Canada that's building, and that's going to be our focus over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, great. Now, when you say you do websites and online marketing, when you say online marketing, what sorts of things does that include?
I'd include in that email marketing, search engine marketing, some social media in there as well. Some other stuff like around that a little bit, things like videos and other types of content. But they will be the main forms of marketing we focus on, just because they tend to be the ones that deliver the best results for CPA firms.
Okay, it's interesting. I get I get clients and they say, we don't do any marketing. We're very, they're very proud of that. We don't do any marketing. We get all of our business through referrals. And how can marketing online and just websites in general be a source for new clients? And what do you say to a firm owner that basically thinks, I don't need any marketing. I'm doing fine with the referrals that I'm getting? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I hear that. I hear that all the time as well. That like you say, firms are proud that they don't do marketing. I'd say, that's great. But to me, it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that, if you don't do any marketing, then all your leads are going to come from referrals. So that makes it pretty obvious. But if you did do some marketing, maybe you'd get all those referral leads plus some other ones. So I guess to me, it's saying, well, if you want to grow faster, then there are other things you can do. I'd say another thing is that, referrals can dry up as well, and it can be, you need other kind of sources of new business, and websites can be one of those. I think there's two main reasons you're going to want a website for new business, and the first one is related to referrals. I think the website seals the deal with a referral. What I mean by that is, the first time someone is referred to you, the first thing they're going to do is put your name in Google and come and check you out. It doesn't matter how trusted that referral is. People like to do due diligence, and give a real world example of that. We just took on a new client a couple of months ago, fairly big, well established firm in Auckland in New Zealand, and they'd never had a website, didn't see the value in it. All the business from referrals and all of that kind of thing. And they got referred a client, and they actually won this client, and they're worth $70,000 a year to them. So a good client. But that client nearly didn't go with them because they didn't have a website. And he said that the only reason he actually did go with them is that he trusted the referrer so much. They realized at that point, that sale could have gone either way. They really needed a website. So if nothing else, you need a decent website that when someone's referred to you, they'll come and have a look. You want to keep your website up to date for that reason, that, if you've got out of date blog posts on there, or it looks pretty shabby, then, that they're all little things that could spoil that referral. So I say that's right. Important. And then the second reason is, look, it can be a source of new business, either from search engines. More people are using search engines to look for a new accountant. So, ranking well in your local area, that's important. And, you can convert website traffic into paying clients. We have one firm in Western Australia who they did put a lot of effort into their marketing using content we provided for them. And it probably took them 6 months to build up the systems to do this. But now they get about 16 leads from their website every month. About 60% of those convert to clients. And and those clients are worth on average $4,000 a year to them, and they do that
Right.
through just having really good landing pages on the website with engaging content. People can put their email address in, and then the website sends out automated emails to them, engaging them further. And that really helps that conversion process. If anybody's interested in that, we did a webinar with this firm, and we have a video where the marketing manager from that firm explains the exact methods that she used to achieve those results. So possibly, Brandon, we could put a link up to that with the podcast.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of accountants they go to sort of one of these do-it-yourself website tools online, GoDaddy or something like that, and they just put up a sort of canned website. And I think people, as the web gets more mature, people are definitely more discerning about websites, and they can really pick up on a good site, tell the difference between that and a bad site. So I would think that having a really good website would be noticeable as people are comparing different firms to go with.
I think so. If you go to the example of people Googling, and people will do that, like search for tax returns, and like say your tax returns, Charleston. Okay, they search for that. That's gonna bring up a page of Google results, and then they'll probably click the top 5 or 6 of those. So they'll have all these tabs open in their browser, and what that business is looking to do is go, how can I slim this down to 1 or 2 choices who I'm actually going to call? And if 2 of those websites look really out of date, the content's really stale, that decision's made for them. And those 2 firms, they might just have closed. They might have the best service, they might have the most skilled staff, but the website doesn't look up to scratch. The decision's made. So I think people do. They don't need to know a lot about websites, but they know what looks good and they know what doesn't.
Yeah, and they don't. When people looking, one thing that was eye-opening for me when I started managing my own website years ago. Well, I don't manage it myself, but we had reporting available, and we could see kind of how people were looking at our site. You don't get those eyeballs for long. It's amazing how little people actually look at a page on the site. I mean, they're clicking through very rapidly.
I mean, first impressions really count, and like a thing that I took away from a very good book on direct marketing that I read once was that people have this kind of idea that consumers act irrationally or emotionally, and when people make business decisions, they make them rationally, whereas they're not. The same person who owns a business is a consumer as well, and a lot of business decisions are made very emotionally, very irrationally. So you can turn up on a website, and this is kind of one of the things that's really good about websites is that you can have a website that looks great, and underlying that, your company might not be exactly where you want it to be, but actually your website looks great. That will win your business. So that's I know, to give a real world analogy I've sometimes given to some firms, it's like you wouldn't go to a client meeting wearing a suit that was unwashed and crumpled. You don't need to have necessarily a completely bespoke designer suit, but you at least need a decent suit or clothes to go to a meeting. Same with a website. You don't want to present yourself in a really kind of scruffy and out of date fashion. Right.
Makes sense. So when you have a new client come on and let's say they've done no marketing, like what's the first thing they should focus on? where to start? Where would they start?
I guess probably two things which would be interrelated. One would be a blog, and the other one would be email marketing. Probably start with the blog, because we tend to recommend that being the center of your online activity. And some firms get scared away from, I don't want to be a blogger, and just think of it like a news page, or somewhere that you can put timely information that your clients and prospects are going to be interested in. And most modern websites should have a blog function on them. If they don't, you probably want to look for a different website supplier. And I'd be recommending probably blogging once a week, either creating your own content, or we create content for it for firms to do that who are kind of short of time. But I think it's always good to create some of your own unique content, because that will fit better with your clients, your prospects, and the local area that you operate in. So try and maintain an active blog. That's going to help. One, it keeps your website looking fresh, so going back to the referrals and that kind of first impressions thing. Search engines like Google also love that. That they like a site that's kept up to date. And in those blog posts, if you can mention the kind of phrases that people are looking for to find you, so going back to our example before, tax returns, if you can put something in there, that would be good. I'm not necessarily saying you should blog about tax returns, because I don't think that many business owners find that fascinating, but you would get the idea where I'm coming from. Just as a side note, probably avoid compliance-based content. If that's one of the biggest failings that I see on CPA firms, is this kind of like compliance content. Brannon's laughing because he's seen this stuff.
Like highly technical.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You see these things, and and I think look, I live in New Zealand. It's got probably one of the most simple tax systems in the world, and it's pretty complicated in the States. And I look at some US CPA sites, and there's all this like, is it 401 letters, or this 01, or all this like complicated stuff. I'm like, wow. I mean, I don't even understand it. I'm sure businesses that like that's why they're paying you as an accountant, is to take this kind of pain away from them. They don't want to read about it, So the analogy I always give to our clients is, look, you want us to make a nice website for you. You don't care what HTML code we've used or what servers we use. Like, if we started blogging to you about that stuff, you would fall asleep. And that's the equivalent of what you're doing to clients, is like, they want the end result. They want to go, oh, we've saved $1,000 this year in tax. They don't care how you've done it. Well, as long as it's legal. They just want to know the result, not the mechanics.
Right.
So yeah, that's a side note. Like, focus on business advisory content, stuff to do with business planning. Businesses love that. Stuff to do with cash flow. Our writing team, which has been writing for over 20 years on these kind of topics, has found that kind of business planning, cash flow, marketing. They're the subjects that businesses really want to read about.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. On that note, I actually get calls from people. Saying, "Hey, do you know a good CPA? Can you recommend a good? Can you give me a referral?" And you sort of say, "Well, what are you looking for?" And I would say most business owners are looking for accountants that can give them that sort of general advice.
Yeah.
They're not just looking for a compliance. They're really kind of starving for that value added service out there.
Well, I think they assume you can do the compliance, so we build a lot of accounting websites, and when it comes to the services page, it's pretty much the same on every one. And like, what's business 101 is that you've got to find a way to differentiate. So, it's like, hey, well, like what a lot of firms do is they go, we do tax returns, but we do them better and different than these guys. And like that doesn't mean anything to a business owner, you know. Yeah, we do your accounts in a real special way. Like no one cares. If you can go, you know, I mean, it's actually hard to demonstrate that difference if you haven't got it. You know, that's the key things. You got to be different, and by doing business advice, you know, that's what businesses want. They want to go, okay, they're my numbers, but what do they mean? What should they make me do? You know, this has gone red. What do I do about that? Or, you know, how do we get to this business goal? What do the numbers look like for us to do that? So that's
for sure.
that's the thing that business owners are crying out for.
Well, so you know, doing this, creating content takes time.
Mm-hmm.
How much time should firms typically devote to creating online marketing on a monthly basis? What would you advise?
It's hard to put an hourly figure on that. You know, I think certainly put some time aside. Probably maybe a better way to look at it is budget. So just look at it as a business decision and say, we're going to spend, you know, X number of dollars per year on marketing. And that could be possibly, you know, you outsource that. I'd probably recommend that method. Or, you know, it could almost like, well, I'm buying internal resource. So you know, we're going to spend 20 grand this year on marketing, and that buys us the time of this accountant or this partner, and you work it that way. I think the advantages of outsourcing your marketing are that, you know, you can bring specialists in to do it because, like, I'm a marketing person, and I think the marketing people get a bad rep because there's a lot of people who I don't consider they do marketing. They do kind of marketing actions rather than actually going, okay, here's a budget, here's a goal, and go and work out how to make that happen. You know, that doing marketing properly is you know, obviously essential to a business, but you get some people who just go through the motions. And I think if you see in a lot of accounting firms, you've got accountants or admin staff who have no marketing training or particular skills, just going through the motions. You know, they do some Google AdWords, they post a bit on social media, but there's no real end goal to it. And you know, possibly that's why firms start saying, well, our marketing doesn't work, we'll just stick with referrals. It's because it's not been done in a focused and targeted way. And I think by setting a budget, and hiring specialists to do it, you know, you start demanding results. It's a lot harder to get, you know, if you hire, let's say, a search engine person, you know, you're going to get results, and you're going to demand those results. If you've got somebody internally doing it, and he's one of the partners or she's one of the partners, and they're not getting results, it's probably a lot harder to say to them, hey, you know, you're rubbish at this. we you know, so I'd say probably, you know, rather than assigning time to it, you know, you obviously have to put some time aside to kind of plan and everything, is just to put some budget towards it, and set some targets. You know, I was working with a very successful firm here in New Zealand, and they won the Zero Marketing Innovation Award. So it's a very good marketing firm, and the partners there are very switched on and actually very marketing savvy, but they're savvy enough to know that they're better spent doing accounting work and working with clients. And they assign a budget, they make some goals, they look at the number of leads they want to get, and then work back from there. So they go, okay, if we need, you know, 4 or 5 new clients a month, you know, how many blog posts do we need to do? How many events do we need to do? How many webinars? And work back. And then obviously, and they do all of that in an Excel spreadsheet. That's their planning tool. And then they, you know, report back on what happened each month. Did that work? Yeah, we'll try that again. And you know, they've got it to be quite, you know, formulaic. They outsource to 2 or 3 different providers, and that's become like a sales machine for them.
Yeah, it's all about focus, really. I think a lot of people underestimate the value of focusing,
Mm.
and there are marketing professionals that this is what they do all the time, and there are it's part art, but it's also a lot of science involved in it, and so I mean that makes sense. You focus on what you know, and for an accountant, they should focus on their client matters. That's where they make their money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes total sense.
Even blogging that we talked, like you don't even have to write the blog. You could contribute information to that blog, but hire a writer. Copywriters are a lot cheaper than you think, like especially in the States. Actually, we've got some writers working for us now, and it's so competitive that the prices are really, really low. So you could probably get someone to turn out a 500 word blog post for you, relatively inexpensively. I'm talking like maybe $100, $150. If you work that out against your hourly rate, I think that makes a lot of sense that you get a professional writer to do it who can do that, and you stay focused, and and the end result is going to be way better because a professional writer's done it as well.
Right, and you're going to get the consistency that way. I think
exactly.
I would say trying to keep up with content and writing it's difficult to maintain consistency.
It is, and we both do a lot of blogging and content creation, and it's like it's a never-ending task, isn't it? And once you're on that treadmill, it's hard to get off. And I think for accounting firms where they tend to have quite a kind of like lumpy workflow through the year, obviously around tax time, it doesn't lend itself to consistency of content creation.
Yeah, and that's during tax time is when people are thinking about their accountants the most. So it's like the most important time to be publishing content, probably.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you mentioned was mobile friendly sites. So how important is the mobile aspect?
Yeah, it's really important. Two aspects why it's important. One is your website, the other one's email. So I think we touched on like basics of online marketing. The other thing that I'd really recommend firms do is email marketing. Like move beyond the kind of standard firm newsletter and start to use email marketing, because it really outperforms other types of online marketing when done well. But what we found here, we did we looked into the statistics of the emails being sent by our clients, and over 50% are opened on smartphones, so like iPhones, Android phones. So that tells you that you need your email newsletter, you need your email marketing to be mobile friendly. Otherwise, people are just going to delete that. So that's really important.
Right.
And then your website.
Don't send a PDF. Don't send a newsletter in like a PDF. It needs to be where they can read it.
Don't send a PDF ever. Send it as a HTML email. Use proper email marketing software. We've got email marketing software that we use, but I mean, you've got like free options out there like MailChimp, which is quite popular with a lot of firms, I think because it has a free plan. But I think it's also something that's worth paying for as well, because the results, the return on investment on email when it's done well is incredible. So yeah, send a proper HTML email through a proper email software, and that will ensure you get much higher open rates, and make sure the email actually gets read. And the other thing is don't send out really long emails. People don't have time, and scrolling on a phone is hard. So make sure the email is quite succinct, and that's why it's good to going back to the blog that we were talking about earlier. If you send out have your blog as where your main information is that you're publishing, and then link to that from your email marketing. So your email stays short, the content's on your website. And then in terms of your website being mobile friendly, again, I don't think it's important. I think it's essential that it is mobile friendly because, well, probably over 15% of traffic to our clients' websites is from mobile devices. It does depend. If you're in a big city, then it's going to be higher. If you're in a rural area, possibly lower. But on average, around 15%. So it's a big chunk. And like going back to the sealing the deal of a referral. Let's say a tradesperson, a construction worker gets referred to you. Okay, they're probably out and about most of the time. They've got an iPhone. They're going to look at your website. Oh, I can't read it because it's not mobile friendly. That could be the end of that person as a client. Give them a good experience, nice mobile website. It's a big tick in the box when they first visit you. So I think it's looking after clients and prospects. Not doing it is a little bit remiss. It's a bit kind of arrogant to think you shouldn't have a mobile website if 15% of people who are going to look at your website will be using a mobile device.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I agree. It's we just changed our site to a mobile site, and it's really cool how it works on different iPads, and it just fits the screen that it's on.
Yeah.
Now, what about social? Social media? How important do you think social media is for a marketing plan?
It depends. I think me giving you some real world examples is probably best, because social media is like this all-encompassing term that covers quite a lot of disparate type of sites and platforms. So the one that I think is essential for every CPA firm is LinkedIn. And I think most accountants are going to be on there, but whether you're using it to its full potential, make sure that you're obviously connected with clients, prospects, influencers, that kind of thing. So build your network through LinkedIn. One of the things that you can also do on there is add posts. So like you have a blog, you can actually publish that content on LinkedIn as well. So in-depth posts. And, I know personally that I've had a lot of success with those, posting information that's, relevant to accountants around online marketing. And that's been very, very popular. We get several hundred views for each of those posts. They stay there over time. They're searchable. So they can be a really good way to engage. And I think the way to think about social media is forget it as a technology platform. It's about human beings interacting, and each of the different social media sites like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, they're a platform for different types of conversations. So to me, LinkedIn that's the business place. It's like a business conference, like a networking event. So that's where professionals should be. So that one's a given. Twitter, I think, can go one way or the other. For some firms, I think it can be really good. And possibly the thing that I would use to decide that is, are you using it anyway? Is it something you feel comfortable with? If it's not, possibly leave it alone, because, if you don't understand it, then you could probably do more harm than good. Facebook, if I was going to give kind of a simple piece of advice, would be just leave it alone. Going back to the human example, I see Facebook as the place where you interact with friends, with family, that kind of thing. So I don't think CPAs getting into those conversations is the right place. It's kind of like, imagine Facebook is almost like going to a cafe or a bar or something like that. you're chatting with friends and family, and then suddenly, a CPA appears and starts talking about tax returns or this kind of thing. It doesn't really fit in those conversations. And I've not really seen any firms who've had success with Facebook as a tool. So Google Plus is also there. I'm not sure whether that's worth putting any time into. And one of the things that some firms say to us is, "Oh, we just want a presence on them." I think that's a really bad idea. Is that if you're going to do something, you should do it properly. And having a presence, as in posting like once every few months or never, is actually more harmful because it looks ridiculous. If you've got this kind of page that's really out of date. So yeah, I think LinkedIn, definitely use that. Twitter is a maybe. You can use that maybe to for distributing your content. Maybe some engagement there where you can engage with business owners on there. Facebook I would leave alone, and Google Plus, quite a specific platform. Maybe if you work with technology based businesses quite a lot, or it could be useful. But yeah, I think social media, main thing is not to worry about it. It's not this like huge opportunity you're missing out on. I think before you get into that, you'd want to look at blogging, email marketing, search engine marketing, either through what's called SEO, search engine optimization, so trying to get the high listing in Google, or paid search, so paying for adverts on Google. All of those things would get you a much higher return on investment than social media. So I'd say, maybe focus on LinkedIn and the other ones if you think they're relevant.
Yeah, and I think all of this is really just great information, and accountants, a lot of accountants don't do a lot of marketing, and I think one of the great benefits of marketing is you constantly have an inflow of new clients, and if you can grow your practice, you can grow it intentionally. It also allows you to prune your practice more effectively. If you've got new clients coming in, you can weed out some of the clients that might be harming your practice, which that's something we always recommend people, is you need to constantly be pruning your practice, and you can't do that if you don't have good leads coming in as well. So, marketing affects the entire practice. It's not just about getting leads. It affects the whole dynamic of the firm, I think. So, thank you so much for all this wonderful information. I'm sure that people find it very valuable.
No, thanks for having me on, Brannon. It's been great.
We'd like to thank you for listening in on this podcast. If you would like to contact Matt and his team about becoming incredible online, you can email them at sales@bizinkonline.com. His website and blog are located at www.bizinkonline.com. For information about their webinars, please visit their blog page. If you would like to contact Poe Group Advisors about buying or selling a practice, you can email them at info@poegroupadvisors.com or by phone at 888-246-0974. His website and blog are located at www.poegroupadvisors.com.